When the discussion turns to a great Kiwi ride in the North Island along a path less trodden, one that is sure to come up is the iconic Taranaki ride along the Forgotten World Highway. But what if I told you there was a better ride in the North Island along a truly forgotten highway? While State Highway 43 in Taranaki has the title of the Forgotten World Highway, often shorthanded to simply the Forgotten Highway, I reckon recent works to civilise the route by sealing the gravel and improving access means it's fast becoming inaccurate. But if State Highway 43 doesn't deserve the title, which highway does? Simple. Head along east to the Uraweras and State Highway 38, where you'll find a glorious stretch of tight, twisting gravel interspersed with scenic vistas and equally awesome sealed switchbacks. Riding State Highway 38 has been on my list for a while thanks to seeing footage from the 2016 KTM New Zealand Adventure Rally on YouTube. The footage KTM's videographers shot just filled me with a need to see this part of New Zealand, which up until now has been a place I'd never even set foot in, let alone ridden through. With an invite from Kiwi rider editor Ben to join him and some mates on a shakedown ride ahead of their epic annual South Island camping trip, I leapt at the opportunity to finally tick off riding through the Uraweras from my list. Along for the ride were two of Ben's mates, regular accomplice Doug in his CRF 1000L Africa Twin, and a relative newbie to adventure riding at the time, Greg with his Lamb Spec DL650 V-Strom. With Ben mounted on his trusty R80 GS and me on Little Rosie the Rally, we nearly had every example of each option as far as adventure bike engine configurations and sizes go. The ride route was pretty simple. Leave our meeting point in Rotorua and head through the twists and turns of the Waimangu Volcanic Valley before joining State Highway 38 and turning towards Murapara. We'd then follow the highway through the Uraweras and past Lake Waikaremoana before turning off to explore some backcountry gravel roads before finally finishing up in Wairoa for the night. The route to Murapara has to be some of the most boring stretches of straight road in the country, so it was good that we were able to keep our spirits up with inane banter through the Cardo Pack Talk intercom systems we each had fitted to our helmets. While most of it was banter bashing my mighty 249cc of pure power, I knew my little steed would come into its own once we hit the gravel. From Murapara, the route turned to being enjoyably twisty with a decent quality seal all the way through to Minganui, where shortly thereafter the first section of gravel allowed us to ease into the dirt road mindset ahead of roughly 60 kilometres of gravel. Now at this point I should probably point out that the timing of our wee joint along State Highway 38 probably couldn't have been timed better if we tried. With the Department of Conservation and local Tūhoe tribe in a stalemate over how funding of the incredible walking tracks and facilities in the area should be spent, the iwi closed down the area for tourism. A brave move mid-pandemic, with the result being essentially empty roads for us. Talking with Ben, our experience was far from the norm, with you just as likely to round a corner and come head-on with a ute as you are a large boat being towed along the winding gravel. Now, while the area has opened back up to the public, the off-season might bring you some of the best value in terms of traffic on the roads. And what roads they are. The closer you get to picturesque Lake Waikaremoana, the better it gets, and if you have the time to kill, there are plenty of dock campsites dotted along the side of the highway that you can just pull off into and spend the night at.
So that's Lake Waikaremoana there, isn't it? Holy crap, that's beautiful.
Progressing along the gravel, and after a couple of mandatory stops to take in the views, we pulled up to the Onipoto Caves car park to take in one last view of the lake before pushing towards our overnight stop on the coast at Wairoa. Here things came apart, quite literally in the case of the shock on the R80. As Ben rode away, he felt something thud against his heel and he decided to stop to investigate. That thud, as it happened, was the piggyback oil reservoir breaking off his rear shock. It turns out that after having his suspension fully serviced in anticipation of conquering the South Island, the shock had been incorrectly reinstalled, which resulted in the piggyback oil reservoir deciding it wanted to go its own way after coming into contact with the bike's frame. Much head scratching began. First, could we get Ben rolling again safely, or would we need to find some reception and call for a towie and then go from there? After a good half hour of pumping the rear end of the old Beamer up and down, we managed to pump out the contents of the shock and jury-rigged up a catch bag with some zip ties and a snap lock bag to hopefully catch anything that might squirt out. With the GS sorted and Ben's new custom-made paperweights safely stowed away, we limped the remainder of the way into seaside Wairoa. Many beers were downed in celebration that we had all got there, while Ben started hunting around for a replacement shock. Now, would we do this again in a heartbeat? Hell yes. This is an amazing part of the country to ride through, and if you ever get the chance or the inclination, just do it. The pictures and seeing that crystal blue lake at Waikere Moana is so worth the effort of traversing 60 kilometres of straight gravel. If you're not on a full adventure bike, you can probably manage it just fine, just take it easy. There are some brilliant switchback twists and turns on the way along State Highway 38 that make dealing with the gravel all worth it. As far as New Zealand rides go, I reckon State Highway 38 is one of the top, and it definitely deserves the title of the Forgotten Highway.
Wow.